There's so many people who will diagnose themselves from TikTok. Hey, what's up guys? It's me, the Psych PTSD. I have so many patients who come to me and say they think they have a certain diagnosis because they saw something on TikTok or some other social media platform. Sometimes they're right, but for the majority of the time, they're wrong. Because a lot of the time they do have the matching symptoms, but just because you have the symptoms doesn't mean you have the disorder. So in this video, I'm going to talk about mental health diagnoses that people get wrong the most and what we as providers actually evaluate. Let's talk about it. The first mental health diagnosis that people get wrong is ADHD. I cannot tell you how many patients I have that come in and they're like, I think I have ADHD because I can't concentrate, and I saw it on TikTok that they have ADHD too. When in reality, just because you can't concentrate as well doesn't mean you automatically have ADHD. And then there's a lot of things they say too, like I can't focus, or I always procrastinate, I leave things till the last minute. Just because you procrastinate and put things off until later doesn't mean you have ADHD. One of the big things that providers look for is actually childhood onset, which means most of the symptoms of ADHD have to happen present before you're age 12. A lot of my patients will come in and be like, oh yeah, ever since I started nursing school, I've had trouble concentrating. That doesn't mean you have ADHD. We also look for if the symptoms are present across multiple settings. Like, are they present while they're at school and also while they're at home? Because if someone just has trouble concentrating while they're at school, but like when they're outside of school, they're fine, that means they probably don't have ADHD. And another thing we look at is functional impairment. Like, how badly do these symptoms actually affect your life? Like, let's say your boss at your job assigns you to do a certain task, but you just cannot keep enough attention on that task to finish it, and it like gets you fired or something, then that's a pretty big functional impairment. But if you're like studying for school and like reading a book or something, and then you find yourself drifting off every now and then, that doesn't mean you have ADHD. Honestly, I would say it's pretty hard for any person to like maintain 100% focus while they're reading. Everyone's gonna have their mind drift off every now and then. And honestly, a lot of the symptoms of ADHD are also present in other mental health disorders. Like for ADHD, someone can have poor concentration, but also a person with depression can also have poor concentration. And then someone with ADHD can be very easily distractible, but someone with bipolar disorder can also be very easily distractible. So there's actually a lot of overlapping symptoms between ADHD and other mental health disorders. So yeah, ADHD is one of the most common self-diagnoses that people get wrong, especially in this day and age where everyone's like on their phones and tablets and stuff. And then the next mental health diagnosis that a lot of people get wrong is OCD. A lot of times when people think about OCD, they think about someone like, having to have their stuff put in certain spots, having to have their stuff done in their own specific way, or just like having to have things very organized all the time. But OCD actually involves like unwanted intrusive thoughts, significant distress, compulsions or behaviors to reduce anxiety, and very time-consuming rituals. So for example, let's just say someone has like very intrusive thoughts about not wanting to be contaminated by germs. Like the thought of having germs on them makes them like so overwhelmingly anxious. The thought of possibly having germs anywhere on their body is like occupying their mind 24/7. So in order to reduce that anxiety of their thoughts, they actually start washing their hands literally for like hours. They'll spend hours per day just literally washing their hands because they're so anxious about the thought of having germs. OCD stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. So basically that person is obsessed with the thoughts of having germs, and their compulsions are the hand washing rituals. And these thoughts and behaviors affect them so bad that they spend so much time doing it per day that they can't get other things done. Like, let's just say someone even spends like 20 minutes washing their hands, but they have to do it multiple times per day. They're most likely not going to be able to hold down a job. Because like, what kind of job is going to let you like, go take a 20-minute washing hands break every hour or so? So OCD is actually more about anxiety and not just about preferences. Just because someone likes to do things a certain way every time doesn't mean they have OCD. And then the next mental health diagnosis that a lot of people get wrong is autism. Now, if you're like a gamer or you just like browse the internet a lot, people will call each other autistic for like no reason. Or like in real life social settings, if someone is just acting like quote unquote weird, then someone might probably assume that the person is autistic. Don't think like, oh, this person is weird. They just keep to themselves. They don't want to socialize. They're probably autistic. And when that person instead could actually just be like depressed or even just introverted. Or honestly, they might just be going through something to the point where they don't want to socialize at the moment. Autism can be confused with social anxiety as well. People with social anxiety would just rather not socialize with people they don't know if they don't have to. So what providers actually look for in autism is developmental history, how were they when they were a kid, social communication patterns, are they able to maintain conversation with somebody, are they able to maintain eye contact with somebody, and also we look for repetitive behaviors. People with autism will usually prefer to do the same behaviors over and over if they can. Basically, we just look for lifelong traits, not just recent changes in behavior. So autism is definitely one of the most misdiagnosed mental health diagnoses out there. And next up, we have PTSD. Just because someone experiences something that had a big effect on them doesn't mean they developed PTSD from it. Someone will break up with their boyfriend and girlfriend and be like, oh, that gave me PTSD. Now, the breakup probably does feel traumatic, but it doesn't automatically mean that you developed PTSD. The diagnosis of PTSD requires exposure to actual or threatened death, serious injury, or sexual violence. And in addition to that, the person has to re-experience all the symptoms even later on in their lives. Let's just say someone was in a near-death car accident, and then now every time they see a fast-moving car, they either flinch or startle or even get flashbacks, even though that near-death accident happened 5 years ago. And then maybe it's so bad to the point where they just avoid being in cars in general. And then at night when they sleep, they'll have nightmares of what happened and then just wake up crying and panicking. So PTSD involves more than just a traumatic event. A lot of people definitely have trauma symptoms, but just because someone has trauma symptoms doesn't automatically mean they have PTSD. And then the last mental health diagnosis that people get wrong is bipolar disorder. There's a lot of times where someone's mood just shifts from hour to hour, and then people automatically think, oh, that person is bipolar. When in reality, bipolar disorder actually needs distinct mood episodes. Now, these mood episodes can be either depressive or manic or hypomanic. So in bipolar disorder, someone's not flipping moods every seconds or minutes. It's more days, weeks, or even months. They can literally spend months in a depressive phase, and all of a sudden they'll flip into a manic phase for the next couple months. And the manic phase involves decreased need for sleep, being overly talkative, having so much energy with irritable mood, and it's a very clear change from their baseline. So a lot of people can confuse bipolar disorder with emotional dysregulation, trauma-related mood shifts, recurrent depression, or even just personality traits. Bipolar disorder involves long, distinct mood episodes. And that wraps it up for the mental health diagnoses that people get wrong the most. Honestly, a lot of people self-diagnose just because they're trying to understand themselves, and putting a label on it can feel validating. But please try to make sure you actually get evaluated by a professional and not just TikTok. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. I do psych videos twice a week. I am also on TikTok and Instagram if you want to follow me over there at the Psych and PTSD. I do medication management for adults living in California. If you're interested in booking with me, there's a link down below. And with that, your mental health just leveled up. You're welcome.